Can media help normalize the narrative around teenage mental health? How do we reach out to parents, educators, and society, all of whom are consumers of mainstream and news media, to raise awareness around the looming issue around mental health and remove the shame and stigma that sometimes surrounds it? The messaging, what we see and hear, and the medium through which it is delivered can be positive, powerful tools on how to help with mental health. That's why we're talking to someone who's a highly accomplished media personality, Mr. Sam Daniel Salin, an award-winning journalist and a chief of bureau at NDTV South India, about how media can play a more prominent and positive role in teenage mental health. Welcome to TeenWork, Mr. Daniel. I'm so grateful for your time and so excited that you're here.
Thank you so much, Aryan. Looking forward to interacting with you.
So, teen suicides, teen depression, and teenage self-harm, teenage sexual crimes, we hear about all of them. And you obviously, working in the media, know the news and the numbers better than anyone else. Are we seeing an increased number of issues in teenage mental health? What would you say has been happening?
Not as specific as teen suicides, but for children, broadly as children. And this accounts for, say, 11,396 in the year 2020 in India alone. And that's what we're talking about. This was 10% less in 2019, which means both in overall death by suicide and in death by suicide with children, there is a 10% jump. And again, in terms of the death by suicide by children under 18 years of age, three major reasons are being given by the government. One could be family issues, and that accounted for 4,000 children among the 11,000. And then there could be personal relationship issues, what they call as love affairs, and that accounts for 1,337 death by suicides. And then illnesses, maybe disease and health issues, that accounts for 1,327. So this is what we call in terms of which could largely account for teen suicides over the last 3 or 4 years. And if you speak to psychologists or psychiatrists, particularly those experts dealing with teen suicides and mental health of teens, they specify a few issues which became more, particularly during this pandemic time. One is the culture of work from home or study from home, less social interaction, and then the employment aspect, loss of employment, salary cuts, or the fears over loss of employment. These are all issues which, again, led to a new high in terms of mental health.
We know that the media has played such a brilliant role in breaking down misconceptions and myths about so many medical issues like HIV or AIDS. Can the media do the same for teenage mental health, do you think?
I think it's time the media took up that kind of responsibility to launch a series of campaigns to address this crucial issue of mental health, particularly among teens. And this issue of mental health is gaining importance, achieving or assuming gigantic proportions in terms of loss of life and in terms of complications which affect people in more than one way. It's important this issue is given due importance. And besides mainstream media, there are also people like you and me, individuals and smaller groups who also provide alternative news in the form of social media, in the form of YouTube channels, in the form of writing blogs. And it's important they also join hands so that sometimes the mainstream media takes a cue from social media nowadays. For example, there was a phase when mainstream media used to look down upon social media, but now we have changed. There are issues which, even if the mainstream media does not cover, when social media takes it up, then they take notice and they see the trend, what's trending on Twitter, on Facebook, and that actually, in a sense, forces the mainstream media also to take up those issues or to report on those issues. And I think in that way, the possibilities are quite unlimited now. The social media platform and the expertise available outside the mainstream media also makes it possible to have discussions, to provide stories, to do stories, to have conversations with people who have overcome mental health issues or challenges. That would be a great way. If you're asking for specific examples, I think it's important. For example, every bulletin or every week, there could be 2 or 3 news capsules on how people who have overcome mental health challenges. That
So
would be great.
as a means of, I guess, giving role models to people who may be struggling.
You're right. That will be very interesting. You don't have to go in for a long format stories, but 2 minute or even a minute long news capsules on individuals. It can be teens, it can be little adults, but speaking to them, also speaking to the families, how the families played a role in terms of helping those individuals overcome that. That will be fantastic stories. And again, talking to the experts, the psychiatrists who treated them, so that this will, in a sense, inspire teens who face mental health issues to number one, to share their challenges with other people. Again, to break the stigma of going for medical help. All those things can be gradually changed. And the possibilities are endless, but I think if we make a beginning, we can help this trend come down and to help the society accept this as any other illness.
So, in your opinion, do you think maybe public figures, maybe even celebrities, should play a part in sharing their struggle and act as role models?
I think yes, when it comes to mental health issues, there was a time when people felt shy to share that they do have this issue. But recently, many well-known celebrities, not just across India, but even globally well-known and accomplished celebrities like Deepika Padukone, for example, they've come out openly, accepted that they faced these challenges, mental health issues, and how they fought it and how they won this. And this is changing because India is still a country where large number of youngsters have their own icons. Whether it's right or wrong, that's a different issue. But they listen to them. They look up to them as role models. And when such celebrities with a huge following share their experiences, share their that they do face this and they were able to overcome that because of timely intervention, timely help from experts, and family support, that will really make a huge difference. As recently, we've had even Virat Kohli talking about how the COVID challenge had led him to face mental health issues, particularly the time when cricketers like him were put on a bio bubble when some of their colleagues were tested positive, and how he had to take a month-long break from practicing cricket, which he has never done during his active cricketing years, he says. All these things really help people like you and me to understand that mental health issue is not something to be brushed under the carpet, which can be shared, just like we tell others that I have headache, I have stomachache, I have fever today. And I think when more and more such icons come and write about this thing, this will inspire many people to accept it, to believe that it's something not to be afraid of or not to be shy about, but it's only natural, and it's important that we speak about that, we seek professional help. And again, another way is that for the earlier question, I would also like to add that in our reportage, for example, when we report issues of suicides, teen suicide, it's important the broadcast media also, every time they go live about that, every time they have a story, like we find in newspaper reports, they should add that if you face mental health issues, if you have suicidal thoughts, call this number, speak to a professional help. Because sometimes for various reasons, what is possible in the print medium is not possible in the broadcast medium. But it's important that since it's mandatory when we report on suicides, that we have to explain to readers, viewers about professional help whenever they witness or experience suicidal thoughts. It's important we also, in our bid to make that, to normalize it, we should also add this at every point to help the audiences.
All forms of media, from news to Netflix, have the power to make a transformational impact on health and mental health. How else can we take this to a grassroots level instead of, mental health remaining almost an elitist issue?
Look at the examples of storytelling. You see the digitalization of communication has led to umpteen number of models. It can be explainers, it can be one-liners, it can be a one paragraph story on Facebook, it can be a single line story with a picture on Twitter. So I think all these models need to be tapped to reach out to every segment of this community, because not everybody watches television news nowadays. That's also a truth. That's also a truth, because people of your age seldom watch television news.
Yeah.
Maybe there is a big crisis, then they do tune into the television. Otherwise, they consume news on Instagram largely. They consume news on Twitter, or whenever they need to check something, they may go into the website of that particular news portal or that website, news organization website to see. So it's important that our job should be to reach out to this particular segment, younger, vulnerable age group, and reinvent ourselves in terms of designing new format stories, including or incorporating this particular subject, so that the message is sent across swiftly. And as I told you, we can talk about the case studies of successful youngsters who have overcome this. Maybe a 1-minute capsule to talk about the kind of challenges they faced earlier. How did they realize that they were under mental distress or mental health issue? How did they approach? How did they overcome that? That will be a great way to tell the story. Talking to the family members, how they realized, how they came to know about this. Was there any stigma attached to that at that point in time? What kind of an embarrassment, what kind of a uncomfortable situation the child witnessed, and how they addressed that. And then even doctors, psychiatrists, how talking about the helpline numbers, talking about the centers available. For instance, today I spoke to a well-known psychiatrist in Chennai. She was talking about how they have set up a center in Chennai where either people who have overcome mental health challenges or those who are still undergoing mental health challenges can just come there as a group, as individuals, and they can be themselves. It's like a cafe for them, where they can indulge in painting, where they can talk to themselves, to their peers, to exchange ideas, or even to have games there, so that they feel more at home. And these are inspiring stories. We can talk about these stories. We can go film it, speak to, have a chat with those youngsters there. And such positive developments outside the sphere of medical health, how other aspects are being designed, are being developed to help this community. All these things can be told. And I think even other companies like corporates who are doing a lot of what we call as corporate social responsibility, how they fund under CSR, as we call it, they can also think in terms of encouraging even small time, maybe YouTubers or storytellers to fund this kind of an attempt, because for them, it costs money to go there, to do a story on them in terms of transport, in terms of technology, in terms of time, everything. But if there's somebody to support them economically, at least without breaking their, without losing money, they'll be able to do such good stories. And once even a couple of stories go viral on social media, then that will set a kind of a multiplier effect, encouraging many other people to do those stories. And it could open up new opportunities as well. And there are certain ways in which the media also has to stop reporting, particularly suicides or teen suicide, as we call it. That's again a very important aspect, because even inadvertently, the general reportage of suicide should not trigger others to commit suicide. That's also equally important. One is to charter new paths, new models to tell the story. Another one to do some kind of a soul searching, to do some kind of a course correction, to make sure the flawed model of reporting suicides could be corrected. For example, national media, they're all governed by a professional system of reporting this. But there are many, many regional news media, or even there could be national media who, by mistake, still stick on to the old form of reporting. For example, they should not disclose the suicide notes of people when children die by suicide. They should not talk about how they committed suicide. They should not even show graphic details. For example, of course, mandatorily, we are barred from showing certain things, but now they're innovatively using the graphics design technology to explain how the particular person, be it a teen or an adult, had killed himself or herself. All these things should be a strict no, because you are giving ideas to somebody who's experiencing suicidal thoughts.
Not to mention, like it's also extremely almost disrespectful. Not almost. It is disrespectful to the victim and to the victim's family to show such things.
You're right, because it's completely lacking sensitivity, and that should be completely stopped. Secondly, when there is a suicide, say for example in Tamil Nadu, in the state where we are right now, we've seen youngsters in the age group of 17, 18 dying by suicide because they failed in the entrance examination, what we call as NEET, an entrance test that they have to crack in high scores, with high scores to be able to get admission in medical colleges. If someone dies because of this or any other personal relationship issues, the focus immediately turns into a drama. Who provoked this person into suicide? They look for a villain. It could be a teacher, as we found in a recent case when a school girl died in a hostel. But the real focus should be on the mental health issue this individual may have been experiencing over time, and was the school or were her friends able to notice the mental health issue during this period before he or she killed himself or herself by suicide. So sometimes the way the media covers this turns it into a kind of a drama, sensationalizing it, undermining the mental health issue, which could be the real reason for these trail of deaths by suicide. And I think that in that sense, I think it's important the media also does some kind of a soul searching and change the way they report. And sometimes even in these reports, they should make it mandatory, even if it is a 1 minute, uh, 1 minute kind of live reportage from the location, from anywhere else. They should make it mandatory that the reporter should give the helpline number or who they could contact if there is a, you know, if anybody there watching it experience suicidal thoughts. Again, there should be a strict no for publishing the mode or the way the person died by suicide, or sharing of the uh, suicide note by these persons, or sharing of CCTV images. And that's very insensitive nowadays, because there could be somebody committing suicide, but because of the technological development now, many of these things get recorded on CCTVs and they immediately share that. Again, that should be there should be kind of an editorial ruling that this cannot be done. And lastly, we see many entertainment shows. It can be television soaps every day. It could be on the OTT platform, in terms of, you know, all these people, all these platforms could also think in terms of including mental health issue in their storyline, like how they include headache, how they include stomachache, how they include maybe a kidney problem, how they include a heart issue, a major heart issue. Likewise, they can also include mental health issue, so that a storyline could explain, or could unconsciously, could naturally explain the process of the person down with mental health challenges approaching the psychiatrist, taking treatment, taking tablets, and how he or she, so that in course of time, just like your kidney issue, like your heart issue, mental health also would become a kind of a norm, so that people through these stories also can be tacitly made to believe this, it's normal, and there is professional help available. That could also be another way look at how these entertainment platforms, fiction platforms also could weave in the element of mental health to drive home the point of towards normalizing this. And one more thing, the word psycho is being very loosely used, and that's a huge abuse of this particular word, which again, even though attempts are being made to normalize this, to make this to make people get out of this kind of stigma and to seek professional help. This word psycho, be it in films, be it in our daily colloquial conversations, in schools, colleges, again, could be doing so much of damage, and such things could be consciously avoided.
So I just wanted to say I'm so personally inspired by listening to you talk about the power of the media. You know, I just wanted to say thanks so much for your time and your insights and inputs. Thank you, sir. It's been.
Thank you so much, Aryan.
That's why we're talking to someone who's a highly accomplished media personality, Mr. Sam Daniel Salin, an award-winning journalist and a chief of bureau at NDTV South India, about how media can play a more prominent and positive role in teenage mental health. Welcome to TeenWork, Mr. Daniel. I'm so grateful for your time and so excited that you're here.